Welcome to Mobility Insider. I'm your host, Morten Handelsbro. Today I'm going to be talking about this car, the Range Rover P510e. I've been driving this as my daily driver over the last 2 months. I've done 4,500 kilometers, including 3 long trips of up to 1,200 kilometers per day. So I can give you a good review of this car based on my experiences so far. So if you're interested in buying one, or you just want to hear about the direction that Land Rover is taking for their future products, this video is for you. People who consider buying a Range Rover will normally buy the car because of 2 main reasons. One being the comfort of the vehicle, and the second one being the design of the vehicle. Let me take you through some of the design features first. So the front, you have the badging Range Rover with single letters, as we know it from Range Rover. The grille design looks a bit like the previous model, but actually everything is brand new. The clamshell bonnet is another feature. It sits very solidly on top of the engine and is an integrated part of the design. It continues into the strong shoulder of the vehicle that goes all the way to the back, and it is completed by the flushing roof that sits on top of the vehicle. The door handles look great and go flush with the car. So I like that. I also like the design feature of the 2 lines that goes vertically to the bottom of the vehicle, because it breaks up the otherwise very large side design. Overall, you have a really harmonious design, and I think it is one of the key reasons many will consider buying this vehicle. As we discussed, the Range Rover is all about design and comfort. These are the 2 key reasons why you buy a Range Rover. And the comfort has to do with suspension. The air suspension works really well. And of course, the way you sit in the car, the way the seats are made. And the seats are really fantastic. Made from the finest leather, and you can adjust them in any angle you want. They can be cooled, they can be heated, and you can even have a massage. You adjust the seats. Basic function here, back and forward, and the angle of the back of the seat is quite nice. The rest of the function and the controls for the seat, you use the PHEV Pro system. One thing that doesn't fit me that well is the controls for the power windows. I have to lift my left shoulder to be able to control them. I think they have been positioned too far backwards. They should have been a little bit more forward. The door handle to open the door, very solid, very sturdy. Here down a little bit hidden, you can lock and unlock. And you also have the controls for the fuel cap and for the rear hatch. Let's move to the steering wheel. Very nice to touch, but I think the glossy black parts don't look really that nice. And what annoys me really is this little fiddly button for the cruise control where you adjust the speed. That is really not appropriate for a car of this class. So the cameras you have when you park are really, really useful. And you can look at all the details. You can see if there's a rock, you can see if there's a tree behind the car. From every angle you want to see how the car is positioned, there's a camera that will do that. Let's demonstrate the through bonnet camera. We will drive over the sandals we left in the front of the car. Right, there you go. So let me take you through the controls for the climate control in the car. That happens down here. You can sync it, so you have the same temperature in the cabin for all passengers. You can adjust the temperature by turning. If you pull it, you can adjust the fan manually. You can press auto, it goes back to auto. If you press it, you get quite a nice function. You can either heat the seats or you can cool the seats. So for once, in one control mechanism, you have many functions, and it's very intuitive to use it, which I think is a good solution. For the storage, you have in the front place for your mobile phone, stuff you can put here, keys and other things. Here you have a bottle holder, so So two large size bottles fit in here quite nicely. And you have a special room down here as well with charging possibilities. And then here, one of the highlights, you have a cool box that fits 4 bottles very easily. And you can control that in very cold, not cooled, and medium. And one of the features that Range Rover does really well is the dual glove compartment. The superb level of comfort continues when you sit in the back of the vehicle. With plenty of space for 3 adults. You have, if you just 2, you have a solid armrest where you have cup holders and you have a room for your mobile phone. And what is quite nice is that from the back seat you can also control your individual temperature settings. And you have as well the cooled seats or the heated seats if you want that. And from the door you can control both sides of the car in the rear. You can also turn off the loudspeakers, which is quite interesting. You have a blind if it's a really sunny day, and of course the reading lights, and you can close the blind under the sunroof, so you have the full control when you sit in the back of the vehicle. A special Range Rover feature is that you can recline the rear seat so you can have a nice nap if you feel like that. And also the seat belts have a rail, so they are always really easy to get hold of. The Range Rover design team really should be commended for having so many nice details that they have built into the car. Let me show you a couple of more details. The Range Rover is one of the few cars to have a split tailgate. So the top opens like this. You can just put in bags if you want. You can also open it, and this one doubles as a bench where you can sit and relax. You can even have a backrest if you want. And you can fold this one back and turn it the other way around, and you have space for your grocery bags. There's more space in the vehicle that is hidden. So first of all, here you can put in your accessories. You have a cup holder or bottle holder if you want. You can fold the seats or put them back up by the touch of a button. The tonneau cover you can take out entirely. You can fold it and it will fold automatically. And also the towing hitch you can retract here by the touch of a button. Let me first tell you a little bit about the history of the brand Range Rover and Land Rover. In 1948, the Rover company at the time, they started building the first Land Rover, the Series 1, which is a really small 4-wheel drive vehicle that was inspired by the Jeep from World War II. Later on, they expanded the production, also made some semi-luxury vehicles. Tickford was one of the builders that did that. So it wasn't until 1970 that the Range Rover actually came into the picture.
It's something quite new. It's 4 cars in one. It has the comfort of a luxury saloon, the road holding of a high-performance car, the capacity of an estate car, and it's go anywhere like a Land Rover.
It was designed as a utility vehicle, definitely not as a luxury SUV as we know them today. And it was designed by the famous Spen King, who was then one of the designers at Land Rover. So Land Rover has had a long history of ownership from different companies. It was part of British Leyland for a long time, and later it was bought by BMW. BMW sold it again to Ford in the 90s, and then in 2008 Ford sold it to Tata Motor Company, who is the owner still today. There have been 4 previous generations of the Range Rover. This one is the new one. It's called the L460. The first one was the classic Range Rover. That's the one from 1970. That was built in 25 years, a long period for a car, but it actually did set the scene for the upcoming luxury SUVs as we know the Range Rover today. The second generation Range Rover was a P510e, and after that in 2002 came the L322, and in 2012 came the L405 Range Rover, and that lasted until 2022 when it was replaced by this car, the L460. Jaguar Land Rover is actually called a JLR. And the company is a relatively small company in the automotive world. Last year, JLR produced just 355,000 vehicles, which number is lower than the previous 2 years. They have had many issues in terms of production capacity, in terms of getting enough semiconductors, and overall they have been unable to run the business profitably. So because of these challenges over the last 3 years, JLR lost nearly £2 billion after tax, which is a dropping number for a small company like JLR. But things are looking a little bit more bright now. JLR is said to be sitting on a big order bank of about 200,000 ordered vehicles, high-priced vehicles like the Range Rovers. So they expect to be cash flow positive by 2025. Let's talk about the quality of the Range Rover. Quality for me means two different things. One is the perceived quality, the materials and the way the car has been built. And the other part is the technical quality, the in-car entertainment system, electronics and so on. So first of all, the build quality, materials, just fantastic. I think Range Rover is up there with the very best from Italy, luxury manufacturers from Germany, and of course the other UK manufacturers, Rolls-Royce and Bentley. It is such a nice car to sit in, such a nice feeling. You have everything you touch is just high quality and looks fantastic. In terms of the electronics and the technical quality, well, the car did have a couple of issues when I picked it up. For instance, the navigation software wasn't loaded. I don't know the reason for that. The dealer could fix it on the same day. It took it about an hour and a half, so it was okay after that. Secondly, the internet connection in the car didn't work. It took the dealer about 6 weeks to figure out why, and now it works, so it's fine. I can listen to radio stations from all over the world, and I can look for destinations using the internet connection, so that's fine. The most annoying issue I had was that the left front headlamp stopped working after about 2,900 kilometers. I went to the dealer, he looked at it. First he said it should be replaced, and then he called me the day after and said, no, we just need to update the software. It still beats me why a headlamp needs software, but they fixed it the following day. I dropped the car in the morning, picked it up in the afternoon, and now it works perfectly. A big part of the feeling you get in the car is the low noise level and the very competent suspension. I think the suspension is on the softer side, but you can make it firmer by selecting the sport setting. It will never become a sports car. It will always remain very composed and very comfortable. But this is the unique feature of the Range Rover, and it fits the car really well. Let's talk about the powertrain of the vehicle. 510 horsepower. I went to Germany recently and I did a long stint on the Autobahn. Normally I would go about 150 kilometers per hour, which is for me the optimum speed where you have the power and the consumption is acceptable. So for my trip, I had an average consumption of 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers, which I think is really acceptable for a large car, powerful car like the Range Rover. And of course, in normal usage during the week when I go to work, I drive electrical, and the car gives you a real life range of 90 to 100 kilometers very easily. Range Rover claims 113 kilometers. I think it's possible, but then it would have to be at lower speeds. In terms of the power, I did acceleration test in Germany. So I did one test from 120 to 200 kilometers per hour. That takes just 12 seconds. And I did another test from 150 to 220 kilometers per hour, and that takes just 16 seconds. Now, I have no doubt that the car will do the top speed that Land Rover claims of 242 kilometers per hour. I think there's plenty of power in this powertrain. So the powertrain is a combination of the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder petrol engine that delivers 400 horsepower, plus one electrical motor that delivers 143 horsepower. And the combination of the two gives an output of 510 horsepower. So a couple of things that I think they could have done better. So the PV Pro system, in-car entertainment system, overall works well, but figuring out where to change something in the menu is sometimes a challenge. Even after 2 months, I'm still not familiar with the system, so the logic in the menu build-up just beats me. Also, the car has a speed sign recognition system. It works actually very well. It will quite reliably tell you the speed that you're allowed to go, but it doesn't automatically change the speed in the cruise control. I asked the dealer why that was, because I expected it to do so. And he said, well, yes, the function will be released later on by Land Rover as soon as they feel the reliability of the system is good enough. So we'll have to wait for the update then, I guess. So another observation is that the gear shift lever works in a quite different way from what I'm used to. And it has happened to me that I thought I've changed from forward to reverse, and it hadn't changed. So when you press the accelerator, the car moves into the other direction, which is a bit of a surprise. So I don't think that works really well. You have to be careful and always look in the instrument cluster if the gear has been changed. But then the powertrain, the combination of the electrical motor and the petrol engine works really smoothly. Normally I would drive electrical during the week, and I have noticed sometimes that the petrol engine will start for some reason, even though I put the car into EV mode. I don't know why it does it. I haven't found a pattern, but maybe it's the way it's programmed to ensure the reliability of the petrol engine. I don't know, but I will keep an eye on that, see if there's any reason. Then a couple of words about the voice control. I don't think it works really well. I don't think it recognizes my commands as well as it could. I've recently been driving an Audi and particularly the BMW iX50 that works really well, and that cannot be said for the Range Rover PV Pro system. Very often it does not understand my command. So this brings me to the conclusion after 2 months and 4,500 kilometers in the big Range Rover. For me, it is a perfect combination of luxury and power combined with a degree of sustainability, because this is a plug-in hybrid and it can actually do nearly 100 kilometers fully electrical. So many will say the Range Rover is in a class of its own. It defined the class itself. But there are a few competitors out there that you may consider if you don't want to buy a Range Rover. First of all, the other English stablemate, the Bentley Bentayga, comes in a plug-in hybrid version as well, which is a beautiful car, slightly more expensive, a little bit older, a little bit more dated, and it doesn't have a long-range electrical. It can only do 40 kilometers on one charge. Another car that has just come out, really modern car, is the new big BMW XM plug-in hybrid that comes with a V8 engine. I think that is probably an alternative. It's worth considering, but it doesn't have the class and the heritage of the Bentley or the Range Rover. And finally, maybe in the periphery, you can say that the Audi Q7 in the plug-in hybrid version is also a competitor. It is significantly cheaper, doesn't have the design and the luxury, but it is definitely up there with the best of the others. So what is my rating on the big Range Rover? Well, this is a 4-star car in my opinion. Yes, there were some glitches in the beginning. I had to go to the dealer a couple of times to have them fixed. But let's say from now on the car will be perfect, and then it is definitely a 4-star rating.